The PS5 Pro is now official, and if you're thinking of upgrading from your PS5, here are not 5, not 10, but 18 things you need to know. Oh, and speaking of things to know, recently I've made a brand new pack for our app wallpapers called Groovy Gradients. I've made a collection of 10 minimal gradients that work perfectly with iOS 18's new icon tinting feature. This is the wallpaper that I'm using right now. It's number 10 from our pack, and I think it looks pretty cool with the white icon tinting. You can get Groovy Gradients on our app wallpapers on iOS and Android by using the links below. Okay, so first things first, let's talk about some things that you won't be getting with a PS5 Pro. You're not getting a disk drive, unlike the original PS5, which many of you probably already have. You can, however, buy this disk drive attachment, but that will cost you $80 extra. And there's also no stand, which you'll also need to buy separately for $30. You do get these feet if you want to place it in horizontal orientation, and in vertical orientation, it will actually stand on its own. However, the stand will be more stable. And how do you get why Sony made this change? Most people use their PS5 in horizontal orientation, and they figured that they can save some manufacturing costs by not including one in the box. However, this does mean that if you're planning on buying the PS5 Pro and its accessories, it will cost you a whopping $810. The original PS5 retailed for $500, so the PS5 Pro is 62% more, with these extras that the PS5 did have. When the PS4 Pro launched, Sony priced it at the same $400 price as the PS4, which then dropped to $300. However, with the PS5 Pro, Sony no longer did this, and priced it at $700. In fact, even the recently launched PlayStation 5 Slim was priced the same as the original, and it too lacked the disk drive and the stand. And yes, while it is true that you cannot build a PC for $700 that can play the most recent titles in 4K 60 with ray tracing, more on that later, for a console that is supposed to subsidize its costs through games, the PS5 Pro is still very, very expensive. What is more, Sony does not accept any trade-ins for the PS5 for whatever reason, which I find quite weird, as pretty much everyone who's going to be getting a PS5 Pro likely already has a PS5. However, if you do want to trade in your PS5 to get a discounted PS5 Pro, retailers like GameStop will offer this option. The next thing that you should know is that since the PS5 Pro has an updated design with these larger grills on the sides, you'll need to purchase specific covers for it. The PS5 or the PS5 Slim ones that you probably already got will not work. Also, Sony's not selling these yet, they will only come at a later point in time. Another design change is that we now have 2 USB-C ports on the front as opposed to 1 USB-C and 1 USB-A. I do like this change, as now you can charge 2 controllers from the front. However, if you've got a PlayStation Edge controller and you like using that long USB-C to A cable that came in the box, you'll now need to connect it through the back, unless you buy a separate long USB-C to C cable. Another design change is the size. The PS5 Pro is actually the same height as the original PS5 and the same width as the PS5 Slim. So all in all, if you got the original PS5, this will be smaller. Then the PS5 Pro also comes with 2 TB of storage now, as opposed to 825 on the original PS5 and 1 TB on the PS5 Slim. On top of this, it still supports the M.2 expansion slot, so if you buy, let's say, the Samsung 2TB 980 Pro SSD, you'll have a total of 4 TB inside your PS5 Pro. Link for that down below. The PS5 Pro also comes with Wi-Fi 7 up from Wi-Fi 6 for speeds of up to 46 gigabits per second up from 9.6. Obviously, no one has an internet connection this fast, so this is more for future-proofing, especially if you plan on using your PS5 Pro for 4 to 8 years. Now, if you're hoping that your PlayStation Portal will perform better thanks to Wi-Fi 7, sadly, that still only has Wi-Fi 5, so you won't be seeing any improvements here. Okay, so how much more powerful is the PS5 Pro when compared to the PS5? Well, the CPU is actually the same one as before. The GPU has 67% more compute units, and the memory is now 28% faster. What this results in is 45% faster rendering in games, which doesn't actually seem like a big improvement. In fact, based on this alone, a 30 FPS game would only run at 46 FPS on the PS5 Pro. However, Mark Cerny claims that the purpose of the PS5 Pro is to eliminate the quality and performance mode, so that instead of having to pick between 4K 30 with ray tracing or 1440p 60 without ray tracing, you would now play in 4K 60 with ray tracing as well on a single game mode. So although on paper the GPU improvements are not enough to make this possible, we do get some other hardware improvements too. For example, the PS5 Pro now uses AMD's upcoming RDNA 4 GPU architecture as opposed to RDNA 2 inside the original PS5 for significantly improved ray tracing performance. In games like Gran Turismo 7, although the game did run at 4K 60 on the PS5 before, you could only use ray tracing in the replay screen. But now, with the PS5 Pro, it is possible to use it in actual races. And the last performance improvement, which I think is actually the biggest, is PSSR, Sony's version of NVIDIA's DLSS or AMD's FSR. When the 45% faster GPU and the much improved ray tracing performance cannot comfortably make a game hit 60 FPS in 4K, PSSR can help save the day as it can upscale games to a much higher quality, almost indistinguishable from native 4K. Sony did show a couple of side-by-side examples between native 4K 30 on the PS5 compared to PSSR 4K 60 on the PS5 Pro, and not only does the PS5 Pro footage look even slightly better, but of course the games do run at 60 FPS. PSSR also enables you to play your games in 8K where supported. Gran Turismo 7, for example, will support 8K 60, something that you'd normally need a 4090 for. This is 8K upscaled via PSSR, of course. Still pretty impressive that the PS5 Pro is capable of this. It's just a shame that 8K TVs haven't really taken off, so very few people have them. However, while all of this sounds great, the PS5 Pro has one major downside, and that is that developers will need to update their games to take advantage of the PS5 Pro's performance. And those games will have a special label, PS5 Pro Enhanced. The problem is that not all developers will update their games, and even the ones that will still have the option to implement a 30 FPS mode if they choose to do so. Mark Cerny literally said in the presentation that 30 FPS games looked choppy, and that the purpose of the PS5 Pro was to deliver 4K 60 without any compromises. However, at the very end of the presentation, he showed Hogwarts Legacy, still running at 30 FPS, but with improved ray tracing quality. Additionally, even the games that do get updated may not result in a big improvement. Comparing the 60 FPS performance mode on the PS5 against the PS5 Pro in Last of Us Part 2, we can see that the PS5 Pro footage is indeed sharper, although not significantly sharper, as the PS5's performance mode was actually pretty good here already. Same goes for Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, where the PS5 Pro was better, but you literally had to pixel peep to even see the difference. And in games like Horizon Forbidden West, Sony even avoided showing a side-by-side and instead simply said that we get better lighting, reflections, and better detail in cinematics. So the improvements that you'll see in games will fully depend on the approach that developers decide to take with their PS5 Pro updates. I do think that Sony should have had a 60 FPS minimum requirement for the PS5 Pro Enhanced label, as otherwise we may just see prettier 4K 30 titles once again, which is not why I am buying a PS5 Pro for. Now, there's also a boost mode for PS4 games similar to what the PS4 Pro had, which will provide improved performance for over 8,000 PS4 games and enhanced image quality on select PS4 games. So while the framerate improvements seem to be automatic, it looks like the enhanced image quality will likely need some sort of updates from the developers. Speaking of enhanced image quality, apparently the PSVR 2 will also get this as well. Essentially, the PS5 Pro will be able to render games at a higher resolution. Mark Cerny confirmed that this will be coming, although we don't really know when this will be. Now, if you've got the new PlayStation Pulse Elite headphones or the Pulse Explorer earbuds that support lossless audio through the PlayStation Link standard, unlike the PS Portal that comes with PlayStation Link built in, it doesn't seem like the PS5 Pro does, so you'll likely need to connect that dongle. The problem is that for me and many others, these dongles have been very unreliable, with the headphones disconnecting multiple times per playing session, and it doesn't seem like Sony is doing anything to fix this. And lastly, I want to touch upon GTA 6. Digital Foundry made a very good point that GTA 6 is a very CPU-heavy game, as it involves a lot of simulations for traffic, weather, NPCs, and so on. And as the CPU has not been changed, it is extremely likely that we'll see a 60 FPS mode in GTA 6, even on the PS5 Pro. We may see things like improved ray tracing and better graphics, but unlikely anything more than that. So, having said all of this, I would love to hear your thoughts on the PS5 Pro and if you will be upgrading from the PS5. My advice would be to honestly wait until more games get updated and also seeing what sort of updates these games get. Is it 60 FPS patch, or is it just, prettier, fancier graphics still in 4K 30? But yeah, let me know what do you guys think, and check out our app Wallpapers for some amazing 8K wallpapers for your phone, tablet, and desktop. I'm Daniel, this is ZONEofTECH, and I'll see you guys in the next one. ZONEofTECH, signing out. Cheers.